It's not that I didn't want to do anything. I just didn't see where the time would come from. If you hate your job and you've been thinking about starting something on the side, but you don't think you have the time, you might be surprised how little time some of this actually takes. Welcome back to It's Just Monday, a place for people stuck in jobs they hate who are trying to build their way out. I work more than 50 hours most weeks. And for a long time, every time I heard people say, just start a side hustle, my first thought was, when? When am I supposed to do this? Between work and being tired after work, some days I barely have time to think. But I also knew I couldn't stay where I was forever. Something had to change. And if you've got even an hour, a few nights a week, some of these are actually possible. These were the 5 I seriously looked into first. So over the past few months, I started seriously looking at what my options actually were. Content creation is the one I decided to try, but it wasn't the only one I considered. So in this video, I want to share 5 side hustles I seriously looked into while trying to figure out my own exit plan, especially ones that can work if your time and energy are limited like mine. Freelance writing. Freelance writing was probably the second option I considered after content creation, mostly because it's one of the few things you can realistically start while working long hours. You can do it early in the morning, late at night, or on weekends. And if you already spend most of your days writing emails, documenting processes, or explaining things clearly at work, you're closer to this than you think. One thing I liked about freelance writing is that it can produce income faster than something like a YouTube channel. You don't have to wait 6 months to see progress. The reason I didn't choose this as my main path is because I realized I didn't want another job built around deadlines. But if what you need right now is income while you figure out your longer term direction, this one makes a lot of sense. Digital products. Digital products kept coming up while I was researching different ways people build income outside of a job. Things like creating templates, guides, checklists, workbooks, and planners, especially the kind built around problems people already solved at work. What appealed to me about this option is that it isn't tied directly to your time once you create it. You create something once, and it can keep working in the background. The trade-off, though, is that it takes patience. Most people don't create one product and suddenly replace their income. But if you've built systems at work or figured out ways to make your job easier over time, those things can become products later. Teaching what you already know. This was another one I spent time thinking about, not because I felt like an expert, but because I started realizing people don't need experts as much as they need someone who's just a few steps ahead of them, because that's the person they still recognize themselves in. Courses can be built around things like Excel shortcuts, customer service workflows, industry-specific processes, or even transitions people are trying to make themselves. What surprised me while researching this is how many courses are built by people who are still learning the topic themselves. They're just documenting what they figured out. And that changed how I looked at this option. It made it feel way more possible. Local service work. This one almost never gets talked about in the same way as online side hustles, but it's one of the most reliable paths I found while researching. Things like house cleaning, pet sitting, yard work, move-in cleaning, helping people organize. There's immediate demand for these almost everywhere. Think about it. Even people who normally clean their own homes don't want to deal with cleaning a new place before they move in. Moving is already exhausting. So if you specialized in just cleaning new homes or apartments before move-ins, you could probably find clients pretty quickly. And the income starts faster than most online options. The reason I personally didn't choose this route is because I already feel stretched for time during the week. But if your goal is to create income quickly while building something else on the side, this can be one of the most practical ways to do that. Administrative support for small businesses. This is one I didn't even realize was an option at first. A lot of small businesses need help with things like organizing inboxes, cleaning up spreadsheets, documenting processes, tracking follow-ups, setting up simple systems. Basically the kind of work many of us already do at our jobs. What surprised me is how many people start offering this kind of support part-time and slowly turning it into something bigger, especially if you're already detail-oriented or used to keeping things organized at work. Sometimes the skills you already use every day are the ones closest to becoming your exit path. I want to be honest about something though. None of these are instant solutions. Most people working their way out of a job they hate don't suddenly replace their income in 3 months. Usually it looks more like a few $100s at first, then maybe $1,000, then slowly something more stable over time. I'm still at the beginning of this myself, but seeing realistic timelines helped me stop feeling like I was already behind. Because this isn't about escaping overnight. It's about building something steady enough that staying stuck stops being the only option. If you're watching this and trying to figure out what your version of this could look like, here's something simple you can do this week. Pick one of these, just one, and spend 2 hours learning what it actually takes to start. Even if that just means watching one tutorial or researching how someone gets their first client. Not everything, just the first step. Sometimes the hardest part isn't choosing the right path. It's believing you're allowed to choose one at all. Content creation is the path I decided to try, but it started the same way all of these do, with 2 hours and no idea what I was doing yet. I don't know yet where it leads, but I do know I couldn't stay where I was. And if you're in that same place right now, one of these might be your starting point too. And remember, on this channel, we're not just surviving Mondays. We're building our way out.